So yeah.
Oh, the best story
I began a relationship with Jesus probably back in 2013, so not very long. And I'd say since having a faith for God, having a faith for Jesus, my life has been such an adventure. It's been awesome, it's been incredible, I've met some amazing people, it's been a lot of fun. It's also been very difficult. There's been a lot of challenges, there's been struggles, and there's been times of hardship. Before I met God, those years ago, my life was an adventure. It was awesome. It was so much fun. I loved it. I met so many people. It was incredible. And there was also times of hardship, and it was difficult, and there were struggles. Now, you may be wondering why I'm saying before I met God, my life was incredible, an adventure, wonderful. That's an interesting question. But I didn't say before God was in my life, it was an adventure. It's before I met God. Before I met God, because He was always there. I just hadn't met Him yet. So, at an early age, I had an anxiety disorder known as selective mutism. What that basically meant was that during my early years, I didn't talk to people, I suppose. It was sort of, I guess, it's quite common now, but it's not very well diagnosed, I suppose. Not a lot of people know what it is, even doctors don't know what it is. But it just stops a young person from basically talking in certain social situations. And that really, so even to some family members I wouldn't talk to. But if I went to school at 9 o'clock in the morning, I wouldn't talk till getting home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it would all come out and I'd go crazy, put on those magic shows at home and those sort of things. And then I met, in year one, that's funny saying that now, year one, a good friend who's now currently one of my best friends still to this day, all those many years ago when I met him. He did something so astonishing that now today, only today really, that I'm beginning to see how great a gift it was, and I appreciated it so much now and then, but I appreciate it so much now. He basically became my voice. His name was James Hearn. We went to Wormley School together, and we became friends. Someone brought me over to him one day. Oh, there's this guy who's alone. I was alone at the time. Can I talk to James? So I did. And he became my voice. So if I needed to say something to a teacher or answer a teacher's question, I'd whisper it to James first, and then he'd tell the teacher. So theoretically, he became my voice. He became, part of me, I suppose. And that's just such a great thing to do. I can't even imagine doing that at that age. I think it's difficult to do it at this age, let alone when you're 6, I think, around that age. But yeah, he was a great friend, and we grew up and we had a fantastic childhood, I would say. I'm very grateful for my childhood. We grew up, we made short films together, short comedy films. We acted together amateurly, not professionally. We put on shows, which is sort of, I guess, where my magic shows sort of originated. Just did so much fun. We played with cars, we played with fake guns, and we just had a great time, just having all sorts of adventures, hanging out in playtime. All the time. Once in fact, when we were in separate classrooms and it was wet play, I don't know if it's called that at your school, but when we couldn't go out because it was raining, we had whiteboards and we were talking to each other from across the building through the windows with these whiteboards, and then the rest of the class joined in and sort of smothered the whole window. 30 kids doing it. And I would say today that really did make up for the bad things in my early age. I suppose what happened was we had parents that at quite an early age started their relationship relationship started to dwindle, started to break apart a bit, and it started getting quite aggressive, quite bad. And it sort of involved massive rows, massive arguments. Police used to always come around. Police were sort of, again, only until like last year, police coming around was quite a normal thing for me. But looking back, it wasn't, or shouldn't be, that normal. But it was. There was just all these arguments, but happily, in some sense, the parents split up, went their separate ways. My dad met someone else, got married to someone else. That then turned into a violent relationship as well, and yeah, we were sort of witnessing all these fightings going on, and more police, which we were used to by then. But there was more police, and my brother and I eventually left that environment, which was good. So we left that environment, and carried on with our life living with my mum. So moving on to secondary school, I must have been about 11 or 12, moving up into year 7. It was a fresh start, a new start. I started talking to everyone, because it was just, everyone was going through huge amounts of stress. Probably forget that I didn't talk, so then when I did start talking, it wasn't a big shock, it wasn't news as such. And I met someone called Joe Gibbs, good friend, some people know him. He used to be a Young Life leader here, but before that, when we used to come to Young Life as kids, he invited me along, which was quite a bold move as a friend to say, come along to Young Life, and I did. And it was crazy, and everything changed when I started going to Young Life. Many of you might know that I do magic and perform, and that's sort of what I do now. But I didn't, when I started Young Life, the first time I performed in public was at a Young Life talent show back in 2011. And I was asked, do you want to do this talent show? Do you want to be a part of this? And I was quite hesitant because it was public. It was the first time I performed outside my home sort of thing. So I almost didn't, but I did. And so happy that I did. It was just awesome. And then that snowballed and went into the next show, which then I was allowed to put on my show for club. It became a club night for one of the nights. Everyone came, great night. And then I was in another Young Life talent show, and then I put on another show at another time, or another club in a half term or something. And then one of the leaders, Rich, who again some of you may know, used to be a Young Life leader, him and I sat down and organised a run of 4 shows. We put 4 shows on in this very building right here. The last show was on 2013, 31st of October, Halloween, in this room, and we packed it out. There was not a single ounce of space for anyone else to get in through the door, and some people had to be turned away, which I'm not really proud of, but good at the same time. Packed it out, and that just developed my confidence, developed everything, my trust in Young Life, and brought me to where I am now, really, with magic. But that was only running up to 2013. I said yes to God in 2014. Began a relationship with God after going on 3 Young Life camps, probably over the limit, but very much worth it. And we, committed myself in 2014. So what changed during that time? 2013, great, growing up, excellent. 2014, what was the change there? What was it like? Now, if I was to ask you, how many people here know what they want to do when they get a job, or what the aspirations are? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So, James, what would you say?
I want to be an astronaut.
Want to be an astronaut? No? I'm sure you will. Ellis, is it hand up?
I want to be a chef.
Chef? Amazing career. Amazing. But there's a lot of people with their hands down, and that's completely normal. That's completely natural. A lot of people don't know what they want to do. And I think schools and colleges naturally pressure you into needing to know what that is. You need to go to uni, you need to know what you want to be when you grow up, or you have to do this, that, the other. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. And I suppose I was lucky in that sense. When I was growing up, doing magic, performing for friends and that, I knew what I wanted to be. The ambition is to perform magic. The ambition is to go to the West End, conquer that and perform, and reach out to those people and entertain. That's the ambition. So I was lucky in that sense. But at the same time, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. There's, will you get enough shows? Will you perform for this many people? Will you get a car? Will you get a job? Will you have enough money? There's a lot of pressure that comes with that as well. And I suppose my life, like other people's life, can be a bit like this balloon. Now I will explain. That's blown it up. A little bit like this. At the moment, it's quite stable, it's quite secure, it's quite predictable. You know, there's nothing, well, it's not going to explode, it's quite strong, it's quite fine. But at the same time, when I was inflating it a moment ago, I guess some of you may have had slight anxiety that, what if I inflate it too much and it goes back and explodes? Or there's just that natural instinct. Really. When I'm in an audience watching someone blowing up a balloon on stage, I think, oh, please don't overinflate that. I don't want it to go bang, don't want to jump, horrible. I don't want it to bang now. And that, in a way, that pressure inside this balloon, that pressure that can cause anxiety, is a bit like life, really. It was a bit like my life before I met God and grew to know Him, in the fact that there's a lot of pressure. Is magic the right thing for me to do? Do I go off and pursue a different career? Do I go to university? Do I hang out with those people? Do I try and get a house? That's that sort of thing. There's a lot of things where you think you've got to put pressure on yourself. Now at the moment this is fine, there's not much pressure, not much anxiety, but of course bringing an instrument that can cause the norm to change increases anxiety. So in this case we have a very sharp, very long needle. And of course that's worrying, because it can threaten this. And what that would do, if that touched that, was create a loud bang. But I don't want it to cause a loud bang. That's the plan here anyway. So if I was to say to you, if I could put this needle through this balloon and out the other side without bursting it, that's pretty much impossible, because you don't trust that. That's just complete. It's trusting in something that you know it's not going to happen. Sort of. But that's what I'm going to do right now. I knew it. I knew it. Magic show. So we'll try something. Yeah. Cool. So what we're going to do, I'll stand up for this. Is just place this straight through like that. And out the other side. But that's just testing what we know and what we believe to be true. Testing or creating anxiety in a situation where we don't need to be anxious, but we thought we did. And that's just very much like falling into a relationship with God. Me doing that, I had to trust that that was going to work, jump into it, throw all my trust into it, where my instincts know that's a balloon. Why would you put a needle into that? It's about to explode. Same with God. I think when I jumped into a relationship with God, I had to trust that He would guide me through my life. To be honest, still to this day, I struggle with trusting, just because I'm human, I guess. There's always doubt, there's always, will that happen? But there's things that can help that, and the word in which is the Bible, like Ruth was talking about last week, the Bible is God's word, written by disciples, written by a whole bunch of people, of which God placed words into them and they placed words onto paper. So I'm just going to read something from the Bible now, which is about being guided by God, which is about putting trust in God and what He will do and how He will guide us. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. Now, he's not saying I'm going to lay you down on a bed of nails, I'm going to lead you past a river of lava and volcanoes. It's green pastures, it's quiet waters. He wants you to be safe. He wants to take you somewhere nice. He loves you. He wants to do what a father would do and lead you somewhere that he can show you and you can be amazed at. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. Walking through the darkest valley, we all walk through times of trouble, we all walk through times of hardship, but God is always there, right behind us, every step of the way. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, so he provides for us. He's always going to supply what we need when we need to do something. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So he will always be with us. He will never leave us. He will always be there, eternally. And that's Psalm 23, written by David. Now, what does that mean? God is with us. He's very much like a parent. I guess defining father, for me, and I suppose for others as well, can be quite difficult. If you've had a similar, I guess, experience to what I've had, in terms of you don't quite know what a father is. But if I was to assume what a father is and hope what a father is, it's caring. It's like a guardian. He's like, he wants the best for you in every step that you make. And that's exactly what is said in this psalm right here. And that's just so true. He's guiding us. He doesn't want us to be led astray. He wants us to walk and have the best life that we can live. It's not strict rules, it's I want the best for you. And of course there's times in my life, even now, where it's sort of, do I make this decision, do I leave this job, do I start that job, do I do this, do I buy that, do I go there? But I try and live as best as I can to the Bible. And one of my favourite verses that helps me every time, it's plain, clear and simple. It's from Philippians, and it's 4:6, and it pretty much bluntly says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Jesus Christ. But do not be anxious about anything. It's sort of like, I know I need to go there and do that. Or what if there's rejection? What if there's a bad result? God's with me. It doesn't matter. It's far greater to be harnessed in embrace of this Father than this 1 minute rejection or whatever it may be. But that's not usually the case. God does guide us in the right direction, and where he guides us, we tend to not fail when it's what he wants us to do. And this is the same for all of us here. He loves every one of us. He really does. And what that story was about, what I was telling you, is that my life was awesome before I knew God, but it's because he was already there. I just didn't see him. Why did I meet James, who then allowed me to talk in school and excel in my classes? Because I was brought to him. Why did I meet Joe? Because Joe was brought to me. Why was I brought to Young Life? Because I was in the right place at the right time, and God's plan was for me to come here. Why am I doing magic? Now that's an interesting one. Once upon a time it was probably because I wanted to entertain people, to make people feel happy, good, but at the same time that's my own goals. Now it's changed slightly in that I want to perform magic in order to be able to share God's word with people. And it's just a great platform to do that. That's just how things have changed, but my ambitions haven't necessarily changed. He walks with us through everything, and he's there for us all. He's there for you, Reese. He's there for you, Alicia. He's there for you, Harry. He's there for absolutely everyone. You may not see him yet, as I didn't. You may not know what his plan is for you. That's fine. He's probably still watching and looking at what your interests are, what you want to do, what you love. And he'll put the right things in place for you to be able to evolve and just use those and utilise those things to be able to live the best life that you possibly can. He will guide us in that way. So my challenge to you is this week, if you feel pressure that you need to do certain things, if you feel pressure that you're not quite sure what to do, or you just want to know, or if you already know, like I did, or you just want a bit of guidance, the best way to find out is just to ask God directly. The only way is to ask him directly. And whether it's after this, whether it's 1 minute before club next week, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, whenever it is, just a simple prayer is all it takes for him to hear you and for you to get answers, whether it be through signs, whether it be massive impact. You just never know. And that's the amazing thing, you never know what's going to happen. But what you got to trust and know is that the best is intended for you individually.